because this is a very interesting media landscape that the NBA is in. You can hear directly from the players, as Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson do make their round of appearances in their own podcast, and they address the elephant in the room in regards to the team's effort since the Cup games. I gotta say, when you look at the last few Cup winners, the Lakers, the Bucks, they all had similar experiences due to the NBA scheduling. But going back to the team, it looks like a lot of the struggles the Knicks had early on are slowly creeping back in. The energy levels remaining consistent on the defensive end, and also the point of attack defense is real bad. Guys are bringing up the ball real comfortable and getting into their spots or just getting into their actions a little bit too easy. But you guys check out what the fellas had to say, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Elephant in the room.
You guys have lost 4 straight.
According to Josh, I guess we over here lost 4 straight, according to Josh.
What can one say?
Yeah, just keep it a buck. We asked. No, I'm gonna keep it real. We look god awful. We look god awful, and how do I say this? The worst part about it, it's all correctable stuff. It's not like we're not bad. It's just all correctable stuff, and I think that's what makes it most frustrating. Is like we have the ability to correct it. It should have been corrected a long time ago, but here we are on a 4-game losing streak. And I said this before we started. I feel like we always do a podcast on some type of losing streak.
Facts. This exact scenario played out last time. And when it comes to the energy levels on the defensive end, that inconsistency is even affecting the offense. Guys are not getting out in transition, and it results after a while, Jalen Brunson just kind of being on ball, and it looks like we're right back into the Tom Thibodeau offense.
I know that we're a lot better than what we've been showing, and we've shown that already this year. And I think the best part about it is that we started the season, I won't say the best part, but we started the season not as great as we could have, and we found a way to kind of use that to push us through November and December, and then win a cup, and then we're kind of back at that point we were in the beginning of the season. So this one's give us the opportunity to respond and get better, or we're gonna look like the shit show that we look like right now.
Yeah. When you say it's all correctable stuff, I'm curious, one, what would you boil it down to? And then if you have a different perspective now, actually being able to watch it as, you know, as anyone else does.
Well,
both of you.
I mean,
yeah, what would you boil it down to?
Obviously, our communication on both sides of the ball, one, physicality on both sides of the ball.
That physicality is going to have to be there because we're way too small, and that's one of the powers of OKC because they have a very similar build to the Knicks, except their players are willing to get down and physical. The Knicks are small, and they don't even have necessarily the same speed, but you add on top of that, the physicality just not even being there. Like, damn. And shout out to the fellas right here keeping it honest because, as you can see, Podcast P is no more ever since Philly kind of fell off the map as far as being contenders.
I think it's more mental than anything. Like we have the pieces, and we've shown that we can be physical on both sides of the ball this season. Like it's not like we're brand new. Like we've adjusted. We've gotten better earlier in the season. We're obviously taking steps back, but we have the ability to do great things as a team. And I think we've shown that so far. It's just a rough patch, and we're at that point that we're like the dog days of the NBA season.
You mean the dog days of winning the NBA Cup? That's something that Adam Silver is really going to have to touch on because, once again, the Milwaukee Bucks as well as the LA Lakers did struggle after winning the Cup in previous years. The dog days of the NBA really starts 2 weeks right before the All-Star break. Who knows, maybe that extra travel week in Vegas kind of threw things off. That's possibly why Adam Silver is reconsidering having those Cup games in Vegas.
Like before All-Star break. And so, yeah, it's not fun. It's something you don't want to go through as a team. You don't want to be in this position, but we got to call our way out of it somehow. We can't just sulk and be feeling sorry for ourselves. Like, that's just going to make us worse. So
January is always it's the hardest, toughest month of the NBA season in terms of, you know, you're already, 2.5 months in. Like, you're game 35 36, whatever we're at now, body's a little bit tired. All-Star break is 4 weeks away or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to get to it, trying to get there, obviously, but it's the stress, the grind. This is the worst part of the season. These, like JB said, these are the dog days of the season, and it's not just, you see it with everybody. OKC started the year, people are like, oh, they could potentially beat Golden State's record, and I think they're like 6-5 in their last 11 games.
So are the Wizards.
So are the Wizards. So it's like, there's going to be highs and lows. Obviously, you never want that. You always want there to be highs throughout the season and continue to build, but it's not reality. The reality is going to be highs and lows of an 82-game season, and it's about how you respond to that adversity. And I think that's just the biggest thing. So you don't get too high, you don't get too frustrated. During losses, obviously you want to make sure you correct things, but you don't want that frustration and mentality to linger for an extended period of time. So
you definitely don't. But the Knicks are also going to need Karl-Anthony Towns to sometimes step up and carry the teams in certain games. It's not just Jalen Brunson that should be out there doing so. At some point during the season, we're going to have to see some sort of elevation from Karl-Anthony Towns. He doesn't necessarily have to average a bunch of points, but if his assists goes up and also him getting to the free throw line a lot more often, this could completely add a different layer to this team.
Like JB said, they're all correctable things. We had to bring more energy and more physicality, especially on the defensive end. That's something that, we have to do. He gets harassed, every game, 94 feet. And I don't think, here or there, we've done that, to opponents,
Mike Brown actually tried that in a few games against the Charlotte Hornets. He had Deuce McBride pressure LaMelo Ball in the backcourt just to get a feel and to see if this defense could actually react and recover properly. But if teams are going to pressure Jalen Brunson like that, that's where Karl-Anthony Towns should make them pay in the paint. Him shooting 10 to 11 free throws a game could completely change the dynamics and just add another layer to this Knicks team.
Every couple games, or we might be down 15, we need to bring energy and we pick up full court. So you see teams are doing this throughout the whole game to throw us off. And at times it works. So it's we got to make sure we make these guys also uncomfortable. So I think that's just the biggest thing. But
I think our sense of urgency has to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just wait until we give up 35 points in the first quarter or we're down 10 going into the fourth. We just need to snap out of runs faster. They go on a run. All right, we need to go on a run quick to bring it back. We can't let it linger to 15, 17, and then have to play catch up. It's a hard way to live.
It's a hard way to live, and the Knicks don't necessarily have the defense at times. I mean, just this season alone, the way teams are getting off these threes, teams that don't even shoot threes like that. The Mavericks, when we played them in Dallas, they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams, and they went off. Same thing for the San Antonio Spurs, Champagnie. It's just too many coincidences of teams who normally don't shoot good from three-point range. They're just having a field day going against the Knicks.
It could create great wins like we did on Christmas Day, but we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want to obviously have a lead. We want to play well with a lead, or at least have the game close, because we know that we're a good team when it comes down to crunch time. And so,
and I think to his point, what he talked about earlier, this is kind of feels a little bit at the beginning of the season. I feel like beginning of the season, obviously new system, new coaching staff, a couple of new guys, but times where there were runs, times where there were some of those adverse situations, we didn't handle it well, and those runs built, and we lost the game. And I can't recall which game it was, but after a couple of those games, when teams made runs and we had adverse situations, we flipped the switch and we corrected it, and we got hot, and we started winning games and putting games together.
Hey, shout out to some of the guys coming off the bench: Tyler Kolek, Jordan Clarkson, and also Mitchell Robinson, causing havoc in that paint. Just getting all these offensive rebounds, and it's generating open looks from three.
And then, like you said, like now it kind of feels like we're at the beginning, back to the beginning of the season where it's, okay, teams are going to run. We have to figure out how to do this again. We got to figure out what plays we should run and, how to get guys in these situations. So it's just, the season is a constant, blanking on the word, carousel of, making adjustments, trying to figure out what's going on. You have guys in and out the lineup.
You're never an established team.
Yeah.
It never is like, this is our team, this is how we're going to play. There's always going to be adjustments in game. There might be adjustments throughout a stretch of games, like when someone's hurt or you're not playing as well as a team, how are you going to adjust to get back on track? Like, there's never like, this is our team, we're a finished product at game 35, and we're going to be like this until game 82,
Facts. Matter of fact, right now, this is actually a good time period for the Knicks because we are seeing a lot of different lineups because of injuries or just guys being out. I believe Deuce McBride and in 2 different parts of the season had to be out due to injury, and we've seen guys like Tyler Kolek, Jordan Clarkson step up. We're getting different lineups. We're even seeing Big Mo enter the starting lineup. He had a game where he was going off from 3, so he's able to come up. Also, Tyler Kolek got more opportunity. Even Kevin McCullough Jr. got some opportunity coming off the bench. So Mike Brown is giving teams a lot of different looks. We're sometimes seeing the lineup with 2 bigs, with Mitch and Cat, even though that really hasn't worked out this season. But Mike Brown has pivoted. Sometimes he goes with Mitch in the middle. You got that Mikal Bridges, that Deuce McBride lineup with Jordan Clarkson and also Brunson. And he's also testing things out. Sometimes you see a Jalen Brunson, Tyler Kolek lineup. And it's giving us a nice preview of different guys of how they can affect different playoff series going down the line. Maybe one guy might be completely ineffective in one series, but then he can come up on another. These dynamics right here is something that we never really got to see last season with Tom Thibodeau just playing his starters heavy minutes. We as Knicks fans are slowly watching the same scenario that played out when Isaiah Hartenstein had his come up after the Julius Randle injury. Just all those consistent minutes from night to night, we started to see him have more chemistry with Jalen Brunson, and he was able to evolve to be a completely different player. And it all came together in the NBA Finals when he played for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that type of come up is what we're looking for right now as we're kind of going through these dog days.
and we're going to be like this until game 82, until playoffs. If you are, then
it ain't going to go well.
Yeah, it's a constant roller coaster of obviously emotion, of playing well, not playing as well as you could be, or maybe even playing bad, like how we are right now. Like, there's always going to be a constant roller coaster of it, and how do you respond to it quick enough? Are we going to let this linger on, or are we going to respond now and then kind of use this as like a jump pad to like spring forward? Damn, that was a good one. Jump pad to spring forward. Damn. But yeah, it sucks. Like, it is what it is. People are going to say like, oh, we're frauds. Yeah, we look like it right now. But how are we going to respond?
For you, Josh, obviously you are who you are as a player. You're going to bring your, the effort and the energy. But is there anything that you'd say is maybe unique about this stretch of games where you sort of watching as a spectator, you're like, okay, this is top priority for me when I get back in terms of things that you want to bring or areas that you want to help out?
For me, it's just making sure we have that energy and physicality from the beginning of the game. And obviously on some of the, they went on a 3-game road trip, and then I had the road trip or the road game yesterday. When you're watching it, obviously you get to see that, but you also hear the announcers and hear some of the stats and hear some of the stuff. And I think they said we're like, it was 20 games or roughly, or it's either 20 or a couple more than that games where we're trailing after the first quarter. And I think it was one, conversely, because you hear those bad, but then conversely, we were 19-0, with a lead in the fourth quarter until the San Antonio game. But, so you hear that and you're like, okay, more than 60% of our games, 65% of our games, we're not starting the game off right, whether that's the starters, whether that's the guys coming in right off the bench, to start the quarter. So for me, it's like, okay, I got to make sure no matter what I'm doing, I got to make sure I bring the physicality, the toughness, to start the game and have that, be a contagious thing. And if guys aren't doing that, hold them accountable. So for me, it's obviously I don't like missing games, but it's also good to be able to kind of see it removed, because you're like, okay, this is where I need to, when I come back, this is what I have to try to do to make a positive impact. So it's frustrating. For me, I'm looking at it both ways, because I want to play, but then I'm also looking at it like, down the stretch, this could be, beneficial to them, not, I won't say not playing all these games, but, the end of last year, I felt like I just didn't have it. And that was just more me personally. So now it's like, okay, I don't want to say I have a break, but, I'm not having these games in. So now down the line, I have more to tap into. Yeah, we'll see. But hey, it's highs and lows. It's an 82-game season. You go on a 10-game win streak right now. No one's gonna remember the 4-game losing streak. And then you go on a 3-game losing streak after that. No one remembers the 10-game winning streak. So it's all about just getting better and learning, from the highs and lows. So it's not the end of the world.
And at some point, it's going to get very interesting when we get closer to the playoffs, how Mike Brown is going to cut that rotation down. These dog days that the Knicks are going through right now is the exact moment that guys can actually earn a spot within those tight rotations going into the playoffs from series to series. This is where they're going to make a name for themselves for that category. But it is what it is. These are good problems to have right now at this moment. The injuries of Josh Hart and Landry Shamet has allowed Mike Brown to get more of a feel of what other guys can do. And this is one of the reasons why I doubt the Knicks will really be making any kind of moves during the trade deadline unless they're trying to actually bulk up and get another guy in place of Yabusele.